First of all, congratulations on this film. I just had the opportunity to see it the other day. You got my heart. I mean, you pulled out all my heartstrings with this film. So congratulations.
Thank you. That's the aim. That's the aim of it.
Yes. You seem to be someone who really likes writing about romance one way or another, and this idea of soulmates in particular too. What is it about that makes it such a rich ground for writing and creative storytelling?
Sure. Because I think the premise at the heart of it is about relationships. So any story you tell, for me, it feels like it's about relationships, which is where all the interesting stories are. I think in any genre or anything, it's all about people, people's relationships. But this one is like so specifically about that. But I think you can kind of create. It's a way to look at relationships today, right? So the premise, I think, yes, it's sci-fi, but it really kind of triggers a way of looking at different kinds of relationships that we see today.
Right.
So I think that's why, like, Brett and I have used it quite a lot, because I think that's where we both go with it. We both go, oh, what if so-and-so took the test and then this thing, how would that affect their relationship? And so, the TV show was just that, was like coming up with ideas that we thought would be great to kind of like poke at kinds of relationships that we knew, or kind of relationships that we found interesting, that if you could just use it to turn the screw on that relationship.
I mean, it is very much true. What is the one thing that every single person has in their life? It's a relationship of some kind. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship, platonic, familial relationships, and they can be the most amazing thing in the world. They can be the messiest thing in the world.
Yeah. And also you apply it to your own life, don't you? I think, a lot of people, when we talk about this, we ask them, like, well, would you take the test? Because I think you just come out and you apply it to your own life. Am I ready for that? Am I in a place where I want that kind of relationship? On all those questions, you just start applying to your own life as well. So I think it's got that universality to the premise that gets you thinking. When any story you don't even have to relate to the story you're being told. But I think you leave applying it to your own life.
I guess I have to ask you, do you think that there is a soulmate for every single person? I do notice a wedding ring on your finger,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yes.
Obviously. I think the thing is, like, it's I've been on a really interesting kind of journey with this, because I think, like, when we first came up with it 15 years ago, I was still with my partner at the time, who's now my wife. And I probably would have answered the question differently. I probably would have said that I'm a bit like Cyrus. Like, I think it's about choice. Like, you choose to love someone, and that's not just romance. That's commitment. That's friendship. That's lots of things rolled into it. And you choose that process. You choose to fall in love. So I used to say that, no, I don't think there is one person out there for you, which I'm sure my wife loves to hear. But now, like, so far ahead down the line, lived a lot more, I've got 2 kids. I think we look back, that is what a soulmate is. Right? So only time can tell what a soulmate is. Like, you'll know at the beginning, you'll only know at the end looking back. So that's like the kicker to it. So yeah, I do. I think now, there is one person for you. But in my case, it's my wife.
Yes.
But I think it is but I can only say that now because, we've been together for 20 years. I know everything about her. She knows everything about me. So yeah, it's a weird one.
Well, you answered very well, I think.
It's not well.
You did very well. I think that is a wife-approved answer.
Yes.
But
the short answer for that is yes and no.
yes. But you do very much raise a great point, and I think that's also at the heart of this film too. If you have this test that tells you this so-and-so is your soulmate, do you just kind of blindly trust that and say, well, it's backed up by science, which I am always very much inclined to believe, but I guess sometimes when you have things such as emotions coming into the mix, those things that are not so scientific and that can be so subjective, that kind of changes things as versus
Absolutely.
finding somebody else who you just stumble upon.
That's right. I mean, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make the test infallible. Like it is, like that person is your soulmate. Like there's like it can be proven that there's, you know, we went out and we spoke to like physicists about particles and quantum entanglement.
Oh my gosh.
And like we had like this theory that there's like particle that is spinning in one person and it's got one match in just one other person, and that if you could take this test that would scan that particle's frequency, you would find one match in the world. Like, and we were like, is this possible? And like, this is like, yeah, I'm sure. In the same way that time travel is kind of possible.
It's a film.
Yeah, exactly. But we wanted to do that because we wanted to poke at, is just one person out there the only person you could be happy with? You might not love another person 100%, but you might love someone 90%, and they're out there as well. And what does that mean if you meet both of them in your life? Okay. So we wanted to really challenge that idea that there's one person out there that's meant for you by creating one person out there that's meant for you and seeing how that applies to the messiness of real life and relationships.
Yes, and in this film, there is certainly a little bit of messiness that happens. Certainly a lot of secrets behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I guess sort of getting back into the slight sci-fi aspect with this film. Of course, you have worked on Black Mirror, and some of those influences can very much be seen in this film itself. But I would also love to know, in the handful of episodes that you have worked on, how would you say that either impacted your writing skills or allowed you to view writing through a different lens?
Well, I think working with Charlie's like such an incredible experience because they just nobody thinks like him, or at least nobody comes up with ideas and works ideas like him. And it's quite a special experience to be part of that, to be in a room when it's happening. And you're like, I mean, in a million years, I've never come up with that idea. Like so that's an incredible experience. He's a bona fide genius. But I would say that what I took from that is Black Mirror is about the people, right? Like it's the same thing, the same idea with sci-fi. He creates this idea of technology and something happening in technology to poke at something in people and to see how people react to it. So I would say that is something that I probably looked at, that found compelling, and thought the most powerful stories for me, the Black Mirror ones, are the ones that really lean into that side of it. And so I think, I came away thinking that that's the kind of thing I want to do. What I would say is that I came up with me and Brett came up with the idea for this short before I'd worked on any Black Mirror.
Oh.
So I like, just to like come my defense, I was like, I didn't nick it. I had it first. It just so happens.
Let the record show.
Yeah, the record show. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But I think that's the key thing. And I think that's why Black Mirror sustains so well. That Charlie's very good at character stories. And it just so happens that he uses technology to write about and leans into the darker side of human nature to look at.
Yes.
Most of the time. But yeah, it just comes down to his characters are compelling, and you really invest in them. And that's something I think is just good writing. So, yeah.
And you've had a number of great episodes too. So give yourself a pat on the back as well.
I will do.
Since you and Brett have worked on this story for quite some time, how would you say that either the initial idea for it maybe had changed and grown and expanded over the years to be the all of you that we see today?
Well, we initially, I met Brett, we were working on another film, a feature film together. We were writing on that, very different, but it was again about a relationship. it was about a superhero who forced them up in this cleaner. Very different, but similarities. And we were talking about relationships in very different places. And I think Brett was asking me about my wife partner at the time. You know, how do you know that she's the one? And my wife was like, I don't. And then we were like, what if there was a test that you could take so we'd know? Would I take it at this stage because we weren't married? And I was like, I don't think I would. I think I would just say, and I was like, but what if you could take a test? And the conversation just turned into Brett was like, oh, two people walking down the street, one of them's going to take the test. And like, literally the idea just unpacked itself over a conversation. We wrote the short film very quickly. And I think we shot it like 2 weeks later. And,
wow.
and so my idea to short film being finished, it was like 4 weeks, I think.
Wow.
And we just did it and didn't think anything of it at the time. We just wrote it and it kind of serves as almost the same as the opening of the movie. And we've changed it slightly, but it is like two friends walking down the street, one's going to take the test. And then I think we just, off the back of that, we sat with it, we left it, we did other things. I took some meetings, I met some people in LA, and somebody said, oh, I saw you short. Do you want to do that as a TV show? I was like, well, I called Brett up and was like, people were talking about this. And when we started talking about it again, we were talking about it with lots of different ideas of, oh, but what if you could do this? And what if it was this kind of person? And we were just playing with like the boundaries of it for fun. Like, you know, the crazy, like, what if one of them's 100 years old and one of them's a baby? Well, how does that, like all that kind of crazy talk that you kind of get rid of because it's just like shock stuff. And then we were getting into the relationships of it all. So what's the interesting thing about relationships? And then that kind of formed the spine of the show. And then we made that. And I think we got to a point where as we were kind of making the show, we were talking about the short a lot. And we were like, well, what would happen if, you know, we came back and visited these characters 3 years later, 5 years later? So by the time we got to the end of the show, we'd kind of talked ourselves into a feature of it. Like already, like we just kind of done one season and we were like, should we just write it? Because we kind of know their life. We talked about their life all the way through all of these years, right up until, you know, all the way through. And yeah, we got to like, let's just write it and see what happens. Because you don't very often like make a show and then make a feature of it. Like,
Right.
you know, it's quite rare, isn't it?
Right.
So we wrote it without thinking anything about it. And then Brett got famous, which helped. So then we shot out and someone was like, we'll give you some money to make that. And we're like, great. And
Thank you.
It was all kind of organic. There was no kind of like big plan. And it just came out of conversations that Brett and I would have as we were developing some of the other stories for the show. Kind of ended up there. But yeah, no grand plan, just a kind of organic way of getting there, I think, which I think is the best way.
I was just about to say that's probably the most wonderful way to build something, especially when you're doing it with someone who you respect their opinions and you're good friends and you know each other's strengths in that.
Yeah, and also we have very different lives. You know, our relationship lives are very different, and we would talk about that, and that really informs a lot of kind of the writing in there as well. So, so yeah, I think. But you're right. Trust is the main one, that we can talk about that stuff with each other.
Something that I've really, really enjoyed with this film is just there's so many different aspects of the relationship between Simon and Laura. I mean, Brett is wonderful in this role. Imogen is superb in this role. I just really love the blend that they brought. And I would love to know, is that something more with their, you know, working relationship and how they brought that together? Was a lot of that because of a very strong script, or was it kind of a mix of everything?
I mean, probably a mix of everything, but I think like one of the things to remember is that they're in every scene, right? So they're together the whole time.
Yeah.
So they're not acting with other people. We're making a movie that is like, I think 25 locations. So we're moving all over the place. they're in a band together. Like they're together the whole time we're shooting because and it's only them as well. So I think there's this environment that's created just naturally from the way we've written it that puts them together. Now that's only going to work really well.
Yeah, you better hope that they would
Yeah.
get along.
And I think that comes down to finding the right person to begin with, and that definitely happened. I remember like Brett had met Imogen generally, I think, and they chatted, and he called me immediately, and he's like, she's Laura. We like we get on. It's like we've known each other forever. You've got to meet. You've got to talk to her. And I took a meeting with her, and it was the same thing. I said, oh yeah, she's clearly Laura. Like she's got the same sense of humor that we have. It was very easy to kind of do like the dialogue. She felt very natural with her. She completely got the character straight from the beginning. And then I think the environment kind of really lent itself to them to become very, very good friends and very close very quickly, which was great. You know, there was many times I would go in to talk to them about a scene, and I would open the door of this band, and we would be somewhere freezing cold or whatever, and I'd open the door and they'd be like,
Inspiring.
let's talk about, well, we're going to shoot in a minute. Let's get our heads in the game. We're just making each other laugh the whole time.
I love that. I feel like that makes for an even better viewing pleasure, knowing that in mind. Like there really was such a wonderful bond between the two of them.
Oh yeah, they were best mates. I mean, I don't know how much Brett likes this too. Like, I think I've seen Brett like cry with laughter 3 times, and twice was on this shoot.
Oh my God.
Like we'd do something and I'd be like, we have to get makeup in. It goes, can you stop? So, that's the kind of level they were at. They really knew how to make each other laugh and just how to get through it.
As you noted, there are so many different time elements, the jumps in between changes in their lives, how their relationships have progressed. And you ended on such a heartbreaking note, at least for me, because at that point you're hoping that something is going to happen between the two of them. And at that moment they separate. However, where do you think that they could be at this point right now in time?
Wow. Because yes. So, how do we talk about it? I mean, we've talked about it, right? Like, because when we first talked about their relationship, we didn't talk about it in terms of a movie. We talked about it in terms of 2 lives, right? Where did they go and how does it work? And that felt like a definitive moment in their lives. So that was the end of the movie. But their lives go on. And people, things happen in people's lives, and it's quite often not final. Some things that feel final quite often aren't final, because some things you tell yourself that's closure,
Right.
and then something else happens, a chance meeting, or something happens in your life and you reconnect. So there's definitely I don't want to like giving it away, but like there's definitely room for more story there. It just because we didn't close it off fully. So I think, and because it's not, the classic romance or romantic comedy ending where they run to the train station, confess dying love, they live together, they live happily ever after, which is what a lot of romance stories end with, like with this sense of hope. We didn't want to do that. We wanted it to feel like they've both turned a corner in their life because of their time with each other. Their hearts say one thing, but their heads say another, and they're starting to listen to their heads because they know that could be good for their hearts. I guess we'll get to, but again, life is funny like that, isn't it?
Hey, you have certainly made that trip from the UK to California. You know that playwright is possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just take some sleeping pills. You're there like that.
Yes, exactly. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time today, but yes, I so enjoyed this film. It was it pulled at the heartstrings. And if you choose to continue to tell the story, I think I and many other people will be very invested in seeing what else happens.
Because we look forward to making you cry again if that happens.
Yes.